The stars looked different from this height. Daejung pressed his hand against the observation window and watched the moon below rotate slowly. 3 months ago, he was teaching biology at a university in Seoul. Now he stood on an alien ship waiting to meet a princess from another world. Nervous, Captain Hwan appeared beside him, holding 2 cups of coffee. Daejung took one gratefully. "Is it that obvious?" "You've been standing here for 20 minutes. Hwan smiled. "Relax, you studied for this. You know more about alien cultures than anyone on Earth. That was the problem." Daejung had read every file, watched every video, memorized every protocol, but books could not prepare him for reality. The Valthian Empire controlled 40 star systems. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's, and he was supposed to guide their princess through human culture. The door opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Taemin entered, his expression calm but formal. "They're here." The Valthian delegation just docked. Daejung straightened his uniform. His hands felt cold despite the warm coffee. This was it. First contact protocols were simple in theory. Bow at 15 degrees. Wait for them to speak first. Never touch without permission. He repeated the rules in his mind as they walked to the docking bay. The bay doors opened and Daejung forgot how to breathe. Princess Zira was not what he expected. The reports said the Valthian had crystalline bodies, but they did not mention how beautiful that would be. She stood almost 7 feet tall, her skin translucent like colored glass. Light moved through her body in soft waves, shifting from blue to purple to silver. Her eyes were solid white, no pupils, but somehow he knew she was looking directly at him. Behind her came 3 advisors, all equally tall and crystalline. One of them, an older male with dark red coloring, watched the humans with obvious distrust. Ambassador Taemin stepped forward and bowed. "Princess Zira, welcome to the council vessel. Earth is honored by your presence." The princess tilted her head, a gesture the files said meant curiosity. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Ambassador, your species is young but brave. We watched you for many years before you reached the stars. We are grateful for your patience," Taemin said. He gestured to Daejung. "This is Daejung. He will serve as your cultural guide during your stay." Daejung bowed, careful to maintain exactly 15 degrees. "Princess, I am honored to serve you. You are the biology teacher." It was not a question. She moved closer, and Daejung noticed she made no sound when she walked. "I read your paper on adaptive evolution. Impressive for such a young species." "Thank you, Your Highness." He tried not to stare at the way light danced through her fingers. The red-colored advisor stepped forward. "I am Lord Venth, Chief Counselor to the Princess. We have many questions about your species protocols." Something in his tone made Daejung uneasy, but he smiled politely. "Of course. I'm here to answer anything you need." The next few hours passed in a blur of tours and explanations. Daejung showed them the human quarters, explained Earth's food and customs, described the diplomatic schedule. Princess Zira listened to everything with intense focus, asking questions that were often surprisingly deep. "Your people feel pain differently than us," she said, as they walked through the medical bay. "I read that humans can endure broken bones and continue fighting." "Sometimes," Daejung said, "we produce chemicals called endorphins that help us manage pain, but it still hurts." "Interesting." She touched a medical scanner with one crystalline finger. "My people feel pain in our crystal matrix. If one part cracks, the sensation spreads through our whole body. It can be overwhelming." There was something sad in her voice. Daejung wanted to ask more, but Lord Venth interrupted. "Princess, we should rest. Tomorrow's meetings will be long." She nodded but glanced back at Daejung. "Will you join us for the morning meal?" "If you wish, Your Highness." "I do." She smiled, and her whole body seemed to glow brighter for a moment. "I think humans are more interesting than the council reported." That night, Daejung could not sleep. He kept reviewing the day, analyzing every interaction. Something felt off about Lord Venth. The way he watched the humans, the way he stayed close to the princess, always ready to interrupt. Maybe he was just protective, or maybe something else. Daejung pulled up his data pad and started reading deeper files about the Valthian Empire. Most of it he already knew. Crystal-based biology, long lifespans, powerful military. But then he found something strange. Several mentions of internal political conflicts, references to traditional factions versus reformers. The princess was apparently leading the reform movement, which made her unpopular with certain groups. A message appeared on his screen. "Are you awake?" It was from Princess Zira. He hesitated, then typed back, "Yes, Your Highness. Is something wrong?" "Meet me in the observation deck alone, please." This was against protocol. He should report it to Ambassador Taman. But curiosity won. Daejung grabbed his jacket and headed to the deck. She was already there, standing before the great window watching the stars. Her body glowed softly in the darkness. "Your Highness, you wanted to see me?" "I should not do this," she said without turning. "But I need to speak with someone outside the delegation. Someone who will tell me truth, not politics." Daejung moved closer. "I'll help if I can." She finally turned to face him. "Your species is very young. Only 200 years of advanced technology. Most council members think Earth should not have been admitted yet. Do you know why you were? Our diplomatic skills?" He was guessing. "No." Her eyes seemed to stare through him. "Because you survive. Other species in the galaxy are specialized. We Valthine are strong but fragile in certain ways. The Korthan are intelligent but physically weak. The Messin are powerful but slow to adapt. Humans, you survive everything. Poison, disease, injuries that would kill others. You adapt, you endure, you keep going. I don't understand what that has to do with the Council." "Something is coming," she said quietly. "A threat. The Council leaders know about it, though they tell no one yet. They need species that can survive chaos. That is why Earth is here." Daejung's mouth went dry. "What kind of threat?" "I do not know the details. But my father, the Emperor, is worried, and there are those in my empire who would rather see weakness than adapt to new alliances." She looked back at the stars. "I think someone will try to prove humans are not worthy of council membership. I think they will try during the ceremonies next week." "Are you in danger?" She laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "Probably. But that is nothing new for royalty. I tell you this because if something happens, I may need your help." "Human help? Will you give it?" Daejung knew this was bigger than him, bigger than protocol. But something in her voice, the way she trusted him with this secret, made his decision easy. "Yes," he said. "Whatever you need." She smiled again, that glow spreading through her body. "Good. Now go back to your quarters before anyone notices we are both gone. We will speak more later." As Daejung walked back through the dark corridors, he realized everything had just changed. This was not just a cultural exchange anymore. This was something far more dangerous and far more important. The wilderness planet smelled like rain and fresh soil. Daejung breathed deeply as the transport ship landed, grateful for real air after days on the sterile council vessel. Around him, delegates from 6 different species prepared their equipment for the traditional hunt. "Stay close to your partner," Ambassador Taman reminded him. "This is supposed to build trust, but these forests are dangerous." Daejung checked his weapon, a simple plasma rifle set to stun. He had trained with it for 3 days, but he still felt like a child with a toy. Beside him, Bitna adjusted her own rifle with the ease of someone who had used weapons her whole life. "First time hunting aliens?" she asked with a grin. "First time hunting anything," he admitted. She laughed. "Great, well, try not to shoot the princess. That would make for awkward diplomatic relations." Princess Zira approached before he could respond. She wore no armor, just simple clothing that somehow looked elegant on her crystalline form. In her hands she carried a weapon that looked like it was made from the same crystal as her body. "Are you ready?" she asked Daejung. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Good." She glanced at the other delegates gathering in their pairs. "The rules are simple. Each pair must track and capture one of the native predators. The first pair to return wins honor for their species. No killing, only stunning." "Questions? What exactly are we hunting?" Daejung asked. Lord Venth, standing nearby with his own partner, answered before the princess could. "Ravager cats. They are fast, intelligent, and very aggressive. Perfect for testing courage. They are also territorial," Princess Zira added. "If we do not provoke them, they usually avoid contact. The challenge is finding one that is alone." The huntmaster, a tall alien with too many arms, gave a signal. All the pairs moved into the forest in different directions. Daejung followed Princess Zira into the thick trees, trying to walk quietly. "You move too heavily," she said after a few minutes. "You announce yourself to everything in the forest. Sorry, we humans are not exactly built for stealth." "No, but you are built for endurance," she paused, tilting her head as if listening to something. That is what makes you dangerous. Most predators ambush or chase. Humans just keep coming hour after hour. There are stories in the council archives about human soldiers who walked for days without stopping, carrying wounded companions, refusing to surrender. We're stubborn, Daejung agreed. It is more than that. It is will, determination. My people lost that quality many generations ago. We became comfortable, secure in our power. We forgot what it means to struggle. Before Daejung could respond, she raised her hand. There, do you see it? He squinted through the trees. At first he saw nothing, then movement caught his eye. A creature the size of a large wolf crouched in the shadows. Its fur was deep blue and its eyes glowed yellow. When it opened its mouth, he counted 3 rows of teeth. That's a Ravager cat? A young one. Perfect for our purposes. She raised her crystal weapon. The cat saw them at the same moment. It roared, a sound that made Daejung's bones shake, and charged. Princess Zyra fired. The blast hit the creature's shoulder, but it barely slowed. She fired again, missed. The cat was fast, too fast. It leaped toward her with claws extended. Daejung's training took over. He fired his plasma rifle, hitting the creature in mid-air. It fell stunned and slid across the ground. For a moment, everything was silent. Good shot, the princess said. Then the mother appeared. She was twice the size of the first cat, her fur black with silver streaks. She moved between them and her cub, growling deep in her chest. This was not prey behavior. This was a mother protecting her young. We should leave, Princess Zyra said quietly. Slowly. They backed away step by step. The mother cat watched them but did not attack. They almost made it to the tree line when a third cat, another male, appeared from the opposite direction. They were surrounded. This is not good, Daejung muttered. The male charged first. Princess Zyra spun, her crystal weapon flashing, and the blast caught it in the face. The creature stumbled, dazed but not unconscious. The mother roared and lunged at Daejung. He rolled to the side, barely avoiding her claws. His rifle fell from his hands. The cat turned for another attack, and he grabbed a fallen branch, holding it like a weapon. It was useless, he knew, but he had to try something. Princess Zyra moved faster than he thought possible. She jumped between him and the cat, swinging her weapon like a club. It connected with the creature's head with a crack that echoed through the forest. The cat stumbled, then fell, but the male had recovered. It jumped on the princess's back, claws digging into her crystalline shoulders. She cried out, a sound of pure pain, and fell to her knees. Daejung grabbed his rifle from the ground and fired 3 times. The first 2 shots missed. The third hit the cat's side, and it finally collapsed unconscious. The princess stayed on her knees, breathing hard. Daejung ran to her side. Are you hurt? Yes. Her voice was tight with pain. My back. The claws broke through the crystal matrix. He gently turned her around. 4 deep gouges ran across her shoulders, and a strange liquid that looked like liquid light was leaking from the wounds. Her blood. We need to get you back to the ship. No. She tried to stand, stumbled. We cannot show weakness. Lord Venth and the others, they watch for any sign that the alliance is a mistake. You're bleeding. It will heal. Just help me stop the blood flow first. Daejung pulled out the medical kit from his belt. His hands shook as he opened it. The training videos had covered alien first aid, but nothing prepared him for working on a body made of living crystal. The sealant spray, she instructed. The blue can. Spray it directly on the wounds. He did as she said. The spray turned solid on contact, forming a clear barrier over the cuts. The glowing blood stopped flowing, though he could see it still moving beneath the seal. Thank you. She finally stood, leaning on him for support. You saved my life. You saved mine first, she smiled despite the pain. Then we are even. Come, we should head back. The hunt is over for us. They walked slowly through the forest. Daejung kept his rifle ready, scanning for more predators, but nothing else appeared. After a while, Princess Zyra spoke. You did not hesitate. When the cat attacked, you moved to protect me without thinking. That is unusual. Why? Anyone would do the same. No. Most species calculate risk first. Survival instinct tells them to run, to save themselves. Humans have survival instinct too, but you override it. You choose to protect others even when it is dangerous. That is rare in the galaxy. Daejung thought about that. Maybe we're just stupid. She laughed, then winced. Or maybe you are what we need. My people have protocols for everything. Traditions that must be followed. Sometimes we follow them even when they hurt us. You humans break rules when you need to. You adapt. Is that what this is about? The Alliance? You need humans to break rules for you? Perhaps. She looked at him with those strange white eyes. Or perhaps I just need to learn how to break them myself. They reached the landing zone as the sun set. Other pairs were already returning with their captured prey. Lord Venth stood near the transport, his red crystal body gleaming in the fading light. When he saw the princess's injuries, his expression changed to something dark. "What happened?" he demanded. "We encountered a mother with cubs," Princess Zira said calmly. "The human protected me. We both survived. That is what matters. You are injured. This proves these hunts are too dangerous. These alliances with violent species too risky. These injuries prove that violence exists everywhere, and that courage exists in unexpected places." She looked at Daejung. "I trust this human with my life. Can you say the same of your hunting partner?" Lord Venth had no answer for that. He turned and walked away, but not before giving Daejung a look of pure hatred. Bitna appeared beside Daejung as the princess was led to the medical tent. "You made an enemy today." "Yeah," Daejung said, watching Lord Venth disappear into the crowd. "I think I did." The invitation arrived late at night, projected on Daejung's datapad in flowing script. "Please come to my quarters. There is something you must see." Zira, no formal title, no official language, just a simple request. Daejung knew he should report this to Ambassador Taemin, but his curiosity was stronger than protocol. He dressed quickly and made his way through the quiet corridors of the Valthine flagship. The princess's quarters were larger than he expected, filled with strange furniture that looked grown rather than built. Everything had smooth organic curves. Light panels in the walls shifted through soft colors, creating an atmosphere of calm. Princess Zira stood by a display screen, her crystalline fingers dancing across controls. She had changed from her formal robes into something simpler. The sealed wounds on her shoulders had turned a darker shade, healing slowly. "Thank you for coming," she said without turning. "I know this breaks several diplomatic rules." "At this point, I'm getting used to that," she smiled. "Good, because what I am about to show you will break many more." She gestured to the screen. "What do you know about Earth's history before first contact?" "Not much beyond what everyone learns. The Council watched us for about 300 years, made official contact 5 years ago. They watched you longer than that. Much longer." She pulled up an image. It showed Earth from space, but the continents were different, the ice caps larger. "This image is from 30,000 years ago. The Council has been observing your species since you were living in caves." Daejung stared at the ancient image of his world. "Why? Because you were unique. Most species develop civilization and technology in predictable patterns. Slow, steady, logical progression. Humans did not follow those patterns. You nearly destroyed yourselves dozens of times, yet you survived every disaster. Plagues that should have wiped you out only made you develop medicine. Wars that should have ended your species instead pushed you to develop new technologies. Climate shifts, asteroid impacts, nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence crises. You survived everything." She changed the image to show a graph with dozens of lines. "This compares human development to other Council species. See how the others follow smooth curves? Human progress looks like a heartbeat. Peaks and valleys, near death and sudden recovery over and over. We're stubborn. I told you that. It is more than stubbornness. It is adaptation at a biological level." She pulled up another screen, this one showing DNA structures. "The Valthine have perfect genetic memory. We are born with the knowledge of our ancestors. Every lesson, every technique. It makes us powerful but rigid. Your species forgets, which seems like a weakness. But forgetting means you can learn new things without the weight of old fears. You can change in ways we cannot." Daejung moved closer to the screen. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because my people are dying." Her voice was soft but sad. "Not quickly. Not obviously. But our birth rates have been declining for 1,000 years. Our crystal matrices are becoming more fragile with each generation. We are specialized, perfect, and slowly going extinct. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry, understand." She changed the image again. This time it showed complex energy patterns. "There is a weapon, an old technology from a war long before the Council existed. It produces harmonic frequencies that can shatter crystal structures. For most species, it is just a loud noise. For Valthine, it is death. The resonance spreads through our crystal matrix, fracturing everything, causing pain beyond description." The way she described it made Daejung's skin crawl. "Who has this weapon?" "We thought it was destroyed, lost in ancient ruins, but 6 months ago, Fragments of the technology appeared on black markets. Someone is rebuilding it, and someone in my delegation is helping them. Lord Venth, perhaps, or others. There are many in the Empire who oppose the alliance with Earth. They see your species as primitive, dangerous. They would rather watch the Valthene die pure than adapt with human help. She turned to face him fully. The coronation ceremony is in 5 days. I will officially become Crown Empress, the heir to my father's throne. It is the most public event in our empire. If someone wanted to prove the alliance was a mistake, that would be the perfect time. You think they'll attack during the ceremony? I am certain of it. They will use the harmonic weapon. They will kill me and blame it on human technology or human sabotage. The alliance will end and the traditionalists will regain power. Daejung's mind raced. Have you told your father? The council? Ambassador Taemin? I have no proof, only suspicion. And if I am wrong, if I accuse a high counselor without evidence, it will destroy my political position. I cannot move openly. She stepped closer to him. But you can. You are human. No one expects you to follow our rules perfectly. You can investigate, ask questions, make mistakes that would be forgiven as cultural misunderstanding. You want me to spy on your own delegation? I want you to help me stay alive, and in doing so, keep the alliance alive as well. Her eyes seemed to glow brighter. I would not ask this if I had another choice. But you have proven yourself brave, and humans have skills my people lack. You think differently. You see patterns we miss. A door chime interrupted them. Princess Zira tensed, quickly closing all the displays. Who is it? Lord Venth, Your Highness. We must discuss tomorrow's schedule. She looked at Daejung and pointed to a side door. He moved quickly and quietly, slipping into what looked like a small meditation room. Through the partially open door he could hear everything. Princess, why are the lights configured for darkness? Is something wrong? Lord Venth's voice carried suspicion. I was meditating. The hunt today reminded me that I have become too comfortable, too dependent on protocol. I needed to think. Your injuries should be healing in proper medical chambers, not here in dim light. The injuries are fine. Dr. Yuna said the human first aid was surprisingly effective. The sealant they used is actually better than our traditional methods for small crystal fractures. There was a long pause. You speak highly of the humans. Some in the delegation worry you have become too attached to them. Some in the delegation should worry more about the Empire's future and less about who I speak with. Your Highness, forgive me, but your father asked me to ensure your safety. These humans, they are unpredictable, violent. The hunting incident proves they attract danger. The hunting incident proves they are willing to face danger to protect others. That is not the same thing. They are too young, too emotional. When the coronation happens, there will be thousands of delegates, dozens of species. Security will be complex. I recommend we limit human access to the ceremony. For your protection. Daejung's blood went cold. If Lord Venth succeeded in removing humans from the ceremony, they would not be there to help if something went wrong. The humans will attend as planned, Princess Zira said firmly. They are council members now. They have every right to be present, as you wish, Your Highness, but I ask that you reconsider. There are threats you may not see. There are threats everywhere, Venth. I learned that lesson today in the forest. Now if there is nothing else, I need rest. Of course. Good night, Your Highness. Daejung waited until he heard the outer door close. He emerged from the side room to find Princess Zira standing perfectly still, her body glowing with what he now recognized as stress. He knows, she said quietly. He suspects I am planning something. What do we do? You investigate carefully. Find proof of the weapon or the conspiracy. I will continue with the ceremony preparations as if nothing is wrong. And Daejung? She looked at him with an intensity that made him catch his breath. Trust no one in my delegation except me. Not the guards, not the advisors, not even the medical staff. The conspiracy must go deep or they could never plan something this bold. What about the humans? Can I trust them? Dr. Yuna, yes. She treated me after the hunt and she has an honest heart. Your security officer, Bitna, also yes. She has the eyes of a warrior who values honor. Ambassador Taemin is political but loyal. Captain Huan is rigid but trustworthy. The others, use your judgment. Humans are good at reading each other better than most species. Daejung nodded. 5 days. 5 days, she agreed. Not much time to save an alliance or prevent a war. As he left her quarters and walked back through the dark corridors, Daejung felt the weight of what he had agreed to. He was a biology teacher, not a spy. He studied cells and genetics, not conspiracies and weapons. But somehow he had become the key to stopping an assassination and preserving peace between worlds. He thought about Lord Venth's words. Threats you may not see. Was it a warning? Or a promise? Either way, the game had begun, and Daejung had no choice but to play. The Grand Council chamber was the most beautiful place Daejung had ever seen. The walls were made of transparent crystal that showed the stars beyond. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of species filled the curved seats, all dressed in their formal attire. At the center, a raised platform held the treaty documents that would officially recognize Earth's full membership in the Galactic Council. Daejung stood with the human delegation, wearing a formal suit that felt too tight around his neck. Beside him, Bitna scanned the crowd with trained eyes, her hand never far from the small weapon concealed in her jacket. Dr. Yuna stood on his other side, looking nervous but excited. Biggest diplomatic event in human history, Yuna whispered. No pressure. Yeah, no pressure at all. Daejung tried to smile, but his stomach was twisted in knots. 3 days of investigation had revealed nothing concrete. He had watched Lord Venth carefully, searched public records, spoken to as many delegates as possible. There were rumors, whispers of discontent within the Valthene delegation, but no proof of conspiracy. No evidence of weapons, nothing he could take to Princess Zyra or the council authorities. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the princess was being paranoid. Maybe today would go smoothly, and he could finally breathe again. Then he saw Lord Venth enter with several other Valthene counselors. They moved to seats near the main platform, their crystalline bodies gleaming under the chamber lights. Something about the way they positioned themselves made Daejung's instincts scream danger. Bitna, he whispered. Look at the Valthene group. Does their formation seem odd to you? She studied them for a moment. They're spaced too evenly, like they're surrounding the platform from multiple angles. Could be protocol. Could be something else. Keep watching them. The ceremony began with formal music that sounded like nothing Daejung had ever heard. Delegates from the oldest council species gave speeches about unity and cooperation. Ambassador Taman spoke about Earth's commitment to peace and learning. It was all very official and very boring. Then Princess Zyra entered. She wore robes that seemed to be made of pure light, flowing around her crystalline body like liquid starlight. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. She moved with grace to the center platform, and when she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the vast room. Today marks a new era for the Galactic Council. We welcome Earth, a young species with much to learn but also much to teach. They represent something we older civilizations have forgotten, the ability to adapt, to survive, to overcome impossible challenges. They remind us that strength comes not from perfection, but from the will to endure. Daejung felt pride swell in his chest. She was defending humanity, praising them in front of the entire council. This was more than ceremony. This was political courage. Lord Venth stood from his seat. Your Highness, if I may speak? Princess Zyra nodded, though Daejung saw tension in her posture. Of course, Counselor. I would like to echo your words about adaptability, but I would also remind the Council that youth means inexperience. Survival instinct can appear as aggression. We must proceed carefully with any alliance, ensuring that... He never finished the sentence. A sound filled the chamber. It started low, barely audible, then rose to a frequency that made Daejung's teeth ache. It was not just sound. It was something deeper, something that seemed to vibrate in his bones. The Valthene delegates reacted first. Princess Zyra stumbled, her hand going to her chest. Around the room, other Valthene began to collapse, crying out in pain. Their crystalline bodies started showing cracks, thin lines of light spreading across their skin like spider webs. Harmonic weapon, someone shouted. It's a harmonic weapon. Chaos erupted. Delegates ran for the exits. Security forces rushed toward the platform. But the sound kept growing louder, more intense. Daejung saw Princess Zyra fall to her knees, her whole body shaking. Cracks were spreading across her shoulders, her arms, her face. He did not think. He just ran. Bitna was beside him in an instant. What are you doing? Helping her. You'll die. Then I'll die. He reached the platform as Zyra collapsed completely. Up close, he could see the cracks spreading through her crystal matrix, glowing with internal light that was leaking out. She looked at him with wide eyes full of pain and terror. It hurts, she gasped. Everything hurts. Where's the weapon? He looked around frantically. Where is it coming from? The devices? She pointed with a shaking hand. Daejung followed her gesture. Around the chamber, at regular intervals, small devices had been attached to the walls. They were barely visible, designed to blend with the architecture. But now they glowed with the same frequency that was tearing the Valthene apart. Bitna was already moving. I see them. Kyungsu, Jiwon, target those devices. All of them. Lieutenant Kyungsu and Analyst Jiwon appeared from the crowd with weapons drawn. They started firing at the devices, but there were dozens of them. Each shot destroyed one, but the others kept transmitting. Daejung turned back to Princess Zira. Stay with me. Focus on my voice. I can't. The pain. It's spreading. Her voice was barely a whisper. My neural stem. The base of my spine. It's shattering. He looked at where she indicated and saw the worst cracks forming there. The neural stem was what she had told him about in their first conversation. The center of a Valthene's nervous system. If that broke completely, she would die. It hurts. Down there too, she said, her voice breaking. The pain in those words was unbearable. Daejung reached to pull her away from the platform to get her to safety. But as his hand grabbed her arm, she screamed. He yanked his hand back and froze. He had made it worse. The touch, the physical contact had sent vibrations through her already fractured crystal matrix. He could see new cracks spreading from where he had grabbed her. Don't touch, she gasped. Don't. Can't move. Vibrations. He was frozen in place, his hand still extended, horror washing over him. He wanted to help her, needed to help her, but any movement would cause more damage. The frequency weapon made her so fragile that even gentle contact was agony. Around them, security forces were finally disabling the devices one by one. The sound began to fade, but Princess Zira was shaking, barely conscious, cracks covering almost her entire body. The neural stem at the base of her spine glowed with internal light that was leaking through multiple fractures. Medical, Daejung shouted. We need medical now. Dr. Yuna pushed through the crowd with a medical kit. What do we do? Our equipment isn't designed for crystalline biology. I don't know. Daejung looked at the princess, at the spreading fractures, at the way light bled from dozens of wounds. The vibrations made her too fragile. We can't move her. We can't touch her. But if we don't do something, she'll die. The last device was destroyed. The chamber fell silent except for the moans of injured Valthene. Lord Venth stood among the chaos, his red crystal body showing only minor cracks. He looked at Princess Zira with an expression that might have been concern or might have been satisfaction. Seal the chamber. Captain Huan's voice boomed over the speakers. No one leaves until we find who planted those devices. Daejung stayed kneeling beside Princess Zira, his hand still frozen in the air where he had pulled back from touching her. She looked at him with fading consciousness. You stopped, she whispered. You froze. That was good. That saved me from worse. I didn't save you. You're dying. Not yet. A weak smile. Human doctor, try. Dr. Yuna knelt on the other side, her face pale but determined. Princess, I don't know how to treat crystalline fractures. Our medicine, our techniques, they're all designed for organic tissue. Try anyway, Princess Zira said. Trust. Human instinct. Daejung looked at Yuna. What do we have? What can we use? Bone sealant. Tissue regeneration gel. Plasma bandages. Standard emergency equipment. Bone sealant, Daejung said suddenly. That's it. Crystal is like bone, right? Rigid structure, internal matrix. What if we treat the fractures like breaks? That's insane. Her biology is completely different. Do you have a better idea? Yuna looked at the dying princess, then at her medical kit. No, I don't. Let's try it. They worked carefully, applying bone sealant to the worst fractures, using plasma bandages to stop the light blood from leaking. Every touch made Princess Zira gasp with pain, but she stayed conscious, guiding them to the most critical injuries. The neural stem, she breathed. That must be. Stabilized first, Daejung hesitated. The neural stem was at the base of her spine, a private area in any culture. But she was right. If that broke completely, nothing else would matter. I'm sorry, he said. This is going to hurt. He applied sealant to the glowing cracks at the base of her spine as gently as possible. She screamed, her whole body going rigid with pain. But the cracks stopped spreading. The light stopped leaking. Slowly, over minutes that felt like hours, they stabilized her. It was not healing. It was barely survival. But the worst of the fractures were sealed, the critical areas protected. Princess Zira's breathing became more regular, and some color returned to her crystal body. "Thank you," she whispered. You saved me." Daejung looked at his hands, still trembling from the work. He had frozen when he grabbed her. That moment of horror, realizing he was hurting her, had been the worst feeling of his life. But that freeze, that instant of pulling back, had kept him from causing catastrophic damage. Sometimes, he realized, the medical facility was cold and sterile, filled with equipment designed for a dozen different species. Princess Zira lay on a specialized bed that held her crystalline body without causing pressure on the sealed fractures. Tubes connected to her arms delivered nutrients in liquid form, and monitoring equipment showed her vital signs and patterns Daejung was still learning to read. Dr. Minho, the human surgeon who had arrived from Earth 3 hours after the attack, stood over her with an expression of intense concentration. Beside him, Dr. Yuna prepared another round of sealant applications. "The fractures are stabilizing," Minho said. "Whatever you did during the emergency, it worked. You basically performed bone-setting techniques on a crystal structure. It should not have worked, but somehow it did." "Will she recover?" Daejung asked. He had not left her side in 12 hours despite Captain Juan's orders to rest. "Recover, yes."
"Fully heal?"
"That will take months, maybe longer. The neural stem damage is extensive. She will need physical therapy, probably some degree of permanent adaptation to the injuries." Minho looked at him seriously. "You understand what you did, yes? You touched a Valthine princess. Not just touched, but handled her body. Applied pressure to her spine, worked on her most vulnerable area. In their culture, that is beyond taboo. She was dying. Yes, and that is the only reason you are not in a cell right now." Minho gestured to the door. "But there are consequences. The Valthine delegation is calling for a formal trial." Daejung's blood went cold. "A trial? You, Dr. Yuna, and the security team. They want you charged with violating royal protocols, causing harm to the princess and undermining Valthine dignity. Lord Venth is leading the prosecution." "Of course he is." Daejung looked at Princess Zira's unconscious form. "She asked us to help. She told us to try. She was barely conscious. Lord Venth claims she was not in her right mind, that any consent she gave was invalid due to trauma." Minho sighed. "Politics. This is all politics. The attack failed to kill her, so now they are using the rescue against you." Before Daejung could respond, the door opened. Ambassador Taemin entered with Captain Juan, and 2 other officials Daejung did not recognize. Their expressions were grim. "We need to talk," Taemin said. "All of you, outside." They moved to a conference room down the hall. Through the windows, Daejung could see the council vessel, and beyond it, the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home, now caught in an interstellar political crisis. Taemin pulled up a holographic display showing legal documents in several languages. "The formal charges have been filed. The trial will take place in 3 days in the Valthine throne room. Emperor Kaizeth himself will preside." "This is insane," Bitna said. "We saved her life. We stopped an assassination attempt. And they want to prosecute us?" "They want to make an example," Captain Juan said. "Show that humans do not respect established cultures, that we are too violent and unpredictable for council membership." "What about the weapons?" Jiwan asked. "We recovered 23 harmonic devices. Someone planted them. That is the real crime. The investigation is ongoing," Taemin said. "But conveniently, all evidence points to unknown terrorists. No connection to any official delegation. The devices were sophisticated but untraceable. Whoever did this covered their tracks well." Daejung slammed his hand on the table. "Lord Venth, it has to be him. He positioned the conspirators perfectly. He barely got hurt, and now he is using the aftermath to attack us." "Probably," Taemin agreed. "But we cannot prove it. And without proof, accusing a high counselor would only make things worse." "So what do we do?" Yuna asked quietly. "We stand trial. We present our case. We show that we acted with honor and saved the princess's life." Taemin looked at each of them. "But I will be honest. Valthine law is ancient and complex. Touching royalty is one of their most serious taboos. Even with good intentions, even with the princess's life at stake, the penalty could be severe." "How severe?" Daejung asked. "Exile from Valthine space, imprisonment, in extreme cases, execution." Taemin paused. "For all of you, and the alliance with Earth would likely be dissolved." Silence filled the room. They had saved a life and might die for it. They had prevented a war and might start one instead. There is one hope, Taman said. If Princess Zira wakes before the trial and testifies on your behalf, it could change everything. Her word as the victim carries enormous weight. Will she wake in time? Bitna asked. Dr. Minho says maybe. The next 48 hours are critical. The next 2 days passed in a blur of legal preparation and medical updates. Princess Zira remained unconscious but stable. Her fractures were healing slowly. The humans practiced their testimonies, reviewed Valthene law, and tried not to think about what would happen if they lost. On the evening before the trial, Daejung sat alone in the observation room, staring at the stars. He heard the door open but did not turn around. You should be resting, Bitna said, sitting beside him. Tomorrow will be difficult. I keep thinking about that moment. When I grabbed her and she screamed. When I realized I was hurting her and I froze. He closed his eyes. What if freezing was wrong? What if I should have just pulled her to safety, ignored the pain? She would be dead. The vibrations would have shattered her completely. Dr. Minho confirmed that. Bitna put a hand on his shoulder. You did the right thing. You stopped when you realized you were causing harm. That takes incredible control, or incredible fear. Sometimes they are the same thing. The day of the trial arrived cold and gray. The Valthene throne room was vast, built entirely of crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Emperor Kaizeth sat on a throne that seemed to grow from the floor itself, his ancient body shimmering with power. Lord Venth stood to one side as prosecutor. The human delegation sat in the center, surrounded by guards. The charges were read in multiple languages. Violation of sacred protocols. Unauthorized physical contact with royalty, causing harm to the heir of the empire. Each charge carried years of imprisonment. Lord Venth spoke first, his voice filled with righteous anger. These humans show exactly why the alliance was a mistake. They are violent, impulsive, and disrespectful. When faced with a crisis, they did not call for proper medical assistance. They did not follow established emergency protocols. Instead, they touched the princess with their primitive hands, applied their crude medicines, and caused her additional pain and suffering. This is not heroism. This is assault. He showed images of Princess Zira's fractures, the sealed wounds, the areas where human sealant covered her crystalline skin. Look at this damage. Look at what they did to the heir of our empire. And they claim they were helping. Ambassador Taman stood to respond. Lord Venth speaks of protocols and procedures. But in the moments after the attack, there were no Valthene medical staff available. The princess was dying. Every second counted. My people acted with courage and skill, adapting their knowledge to save a life from a completely different biology. Yes, they touched her. Yes, they caused pain. But they also kept her alive. At what cost? Venth demanded. We value dignity, respect, tradition. These are not negotiable, not even in crisis. Then what would you have done? Daejung found himself standing, speaking without permission. Guards moved toward him, but Emperor Kaizeth raised a hand to stop them. Speak, the Emperor said. His voice was deep and ancient. Lord Venth, what would you have done? Watched her die? Followed protocols while the princess bled out? Or would you have tried something, anything, to save her? Daejung looked directly at the counselor. You positioned yourself perfectly during the attack. Minimal damage, almost as if you knew where the weapons were, how to avoid the worst effects. But you did nothing to help others. You did not rush to aid the princess. You did not try to stop the devices. You just watched. How dare you? Venth's crystalline body flushed dark red with anger. You accuse me of— I accuse you of nothing, Daejung interrupted. I just wonder why you're so angry that we saved her. Unless her death was part of your plan. The throne room erupted. Valthene counselors shouted. Human delegates tried to calm the situation. Emperor Kaizeth's expression remained unreadable. Then a side door opened. Nurse Suna appeared, supporting Princess Zira as she walked slowly into the chamber. Her body still showed sealed fractures, and she moved carefully, but she was conscious and determined. Father, she said, I can testify now. The room fell silent. Every eye turned to the princess as she made her way to the center. Guards rushed to help her, but she waved them away. Princess, Emperor Kaizeth said softly, you should not be here. You need rest. I need justice. She looked at the human delegation. These people saved my life. Dr. Yuna and Dr. Minho treated my wounds with skill and gentleness. Lieutenant Kyung-soo and Analyst Jiwon destroyed the weapons. Security Officer Bitna coordinated the response. And Dae-jung, her voice caught. He stopped. When he realized his touch was causing more harm, he froze. That moment of control, that instant of pulling back instead of pushing forward, that was what saved me from catastrophic damage. She turned to face Lord Venth. You speak of dignity and tradition, but what dignity is there in death? What tradition is worth more than life? These humans broke. The Valthene homeworld was more beautiful than any pictures could capture. From the observation deck of the royal palace, Dae-jung watched twin suns set over crystalline cities that glowed with internal light. 2 months had passed since the trial, and he was still getting used to being called a hero. You are thinking too much again, Princess Zira said, walking up beside him. She moved with only a slight limp now. The worst of her injuries healed. I can tell by the way you stare at nothing. I'm thinking about Lord Venth, about the interrogation reports. Ah, she sighed. That. Yes, I suppose we must talk about it eventually. The investigation had revealed everything. Lord Venth had been working with a faction of Valthene traditionalists who believed the Empire was becoming too weak, too dependent on alien alliances. They saw Princess Zira's progressive views as a threat to Valthene purity. The harmonic weapon was supposed to kill her and several other reformist leaders, then be blamed on human technology gone wrong. The alliance would collapse, humans would be expelled from the council, and the traditionalists would seize power. 37 conspirators, Dae-jung said, including 3 other counselors and a dozen military officers. How did your people not see this coming? Because we are comfortable. We have been the strongest empire in the galaxy for so long, we forgot to watch for enemies within our own walls. She looked at him. That is why we need humans. You are still learning to survive, still fighting, still watching for danger. You see threats we miss? Maybe. Or maybe we're just paranoid. She laughed. Perhaps both. A door chimed behind them. Ambassador Taemin entered with Emperor Kaizeth and a delegation of council officials. The Emperor had aged visibly in the past 2 months, the stress of discovering betrayal among his closest advisors taking its toll. Princess Dae-jung, Taemin said formally, the Emperor has something to propose. Kaizeth moved to the observation window looking out at his world. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. The attack revealed our weakness. The Valthene Empire is strong but rigid. We have not adapted in thousands of years. Other species evolve, change, find new solutions. We follow the old ways, believing tradition will protect us. Instead, tradition nearly destroyed us. He turned to face them. My daughter has argued for years that we must change. I did not listen. I thought our way was best, that younger species had nothing to teach us. I was wrong. Father, Zyra said softly, you do not need to— Yes, I do, he looked at Dae-jung. Your species is barely out of your home system. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Your understanding of the galaxy is limited, but you have something we lost: adaptability, creativity, the courage to break rules when rules no longer serve life. He pulled up a holographic display showing complex diagrams. This is a proposal for a joint research initiative. Valthene medical technology combined with human adaptive techniques. Our understanding of crystal biology combined with your bone setting and emergency medicine. We could create treatments for species across the galaxy, combining our strengths. Taemin stepped forward. Earth's government has reviewed the proposal. We are willing to participate. But there are concerns about technology sharing, about military applications, about trust, Kaizeth interrupted. Yes, that is the real question. Can humans and Valthene work together not just in crisis but in peace? Can we build something lasting? Dae-jung looked at Princess Zira. She smiled and nodded slightly. We can try, he said. That's what humans do. We try, we fail, we adapt, we try again. We're good at it. Then let us try together. Kaizeth touched a control, and the holographic display expanded. We propose a joint research station. Half human staff, half Valthene. Built in neutral space, accessible to all council species. A place where different approaches can meet. Where rigid tradition can learn from flexible innovation, and where flexible innovation can learn from stable tradition, Princess Zira added. This must be equal partnership, not one species teaching the other. Humans have much to offer, but you also have much to learn. Your technology develops quickly but often dangerously. Your societies are unstable, prone to conflict. We can teach you patience, long-term thinking, the value of tested methods. A fair point, Taemin said. When do we begin? Immediately, Kaizeth said. The station is already under construction. It will be ready in 6 months. Princess Zira will lead the Valthene delegation. I assume Earth will send appropriate leadership as well? All eyes turned to Daejung. He blinked. Wait, me? I'm just a biology teacher. You are the first human to save a Valthene life, Kaizeth said. You are the one who proved our species can work together. You will co-direct the research station with my daughter. But I'm not qualified. I don't have the rank, the experience. You have something better, Princess Zira said. You have the trust of both species. You understand that breaking rules and respecting traditions are not opposites. They are two parts of the same wisdom, knowing when to do each. Daejung looked out at the crystalline cities, thinking about the past months. The hunt, the attack, the trial. Every moment had been about that balance, knowing when to act and when to stop, when to push forward and when to pull back, when to follow protocol and when to break it. Okay, he said. I'll do it. But I have conditions. Name them, Kaizeth said. First, Dr. Yuna and Dr. Minho must be part of the medical team. They proved themselves during the crisis. Second, Bitna leads security. She understands both human and Valthene concerns. Third, the research station must be open to all council species, not just us. If we're building something new, everyone should benefit. Agreed, Kaizeth said immediately. All reasonable requests. Anything else? Yes. Daejung looked at Princess Zira. We need to address the touching taboo. I know it's deeply cultural, but in medical emergencies, hesitation kills. If we're going to work together, treat each other's injuries, save each other's lives, we need clear protocols about consent and contact. The room went silent. Several Valthene advisors looked uncomfortable, but Princess Zira nodded slowly. You are right. This must be discussed. Our taboos exist for good reasons, to prevent casual disrespect, to maintain dignity, but they were not designed for a galaxy where multiple species must cooperate. We need new rules that honor tradition while allowing necessary contact. This will be controversial, one of the Valthene advisors said. Many will oppose any change to sacred customs. Many oppose the alliance with humans, Zira replied. Many said we should not trust such a young, violent species. But those humans saved my life and exposed a conspiracy that threatened the Empire. Sometimes change is uncomfortable. That does not make it wrong. Over the next hours, they discussed details. The research station would have facilities for biological research, medical training, cultural exchange programs, and diplomatic meetings. It would be staffed by teams from Earth and Valthene, with smaller groups from other council species. Security would be joint with both human and Valthene forces working together. We should have a name, someone suggested. Something that represents the partnership. Horizon Station, Daejung said. Everyone looked at him. Because it represents new horizons for both our species. And because a horizon is where different things meet, sky and land, separate but connected. Princess Zira smiled. Horizon Station. I like that. It sounds hopeful. The meeting finally ended near midnight. Most of the delegates left to rest, but Daejung stayed on the observation deck. Princess Zira joined him after a few minutes. You handled that well, she said. The demands, the negotiations. You are becoming a diplomat. I'm becoming something, he agreed. I'm just not sure what. A bridge. Between species, between cultures, between old ways and new possibilities. She stood beside him, looking at the stars. That is what humans are to the galaxy. You connect things that seemed separate. You find solutions between extremes. Is that why you wanted the alliance? Because you needed bridges? Partly. She was quiet for a moment. But also because I was tired of being alone. The Valthene are powerful but isolated. We have perfected our society, our technology, our way of life. But perfection is static. It does not grow, does not change. I wanted something alive again, something unpredictable. Well, you definitely got unpredictable with humans, she laughed. Yes, almost dying was not quite what I had in mind, but even that taught me something important. When you froze, when you realized you were hurting me and stopped instantly, that was more valuable than any protocol. That was conscience. That was empathy. That was seeing another being's pain and choosing to stop even though stopping was harder than continuing. I was terrified I had killed you. You saved me because you cared enough to be terrified. That is what my people need to learn again, to care more about life than rules, about beings more than traditions. She turned to face him. Thank you, Daejung. For everything. For saving me, yes, but more for showing us what we had lost. The ability to adapt, To change, to choose compassion over comfort. He did not know what to say, so he just nodded, and they stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars and thinking about the future they would build together. Somewhere in those stars, Horizon Station was being constructed. A place where humans and Valthene would work side by side 6 months later. Horizon Station hung in space like a jewel, half crystalline Valthene architecture and half practical human engineering. From the command center, Dae-jung could see both his homeworld Earth in one direction and the Valthene capital in another. Between them, the stars stretched infinite and full of possibility. The new medical team from Earth arrives in 3 hours, researcher Bonhua said, reading from her datapad. 5 doctors, 12 nurses, and 3 xenobiologists. They have been training on Valthene physiology for the past 4 months. Good. Dae-jung made notes on his own pad. Make sure they get the full orientation. We've learned a lot about cross-species medical care, and I want everyone up to date on the latest protocols, including the touch guidelines. Especially those. The touch guidelines had been the most difficult part of the whole project. After months of debate and compromise, they had finally established clear rules about physical contact in medical situations. Valthene patients could now give explicit consent for emergency treatment, and human medical staff were trained in the gentlest possible techniques. It was not perfect, but it worked. Princess Zira entered the command center, moving with her usual grace. Her injuries from the attack had healed completely, though a few faint lines still showed on her crystalline skin where the worst fractures had been. She said they reminded her to never take safety for granted. The council representatives will be here this afternoon, she said. They want to see our progress before approving the next phase of expansion. Are you worried? Always, but in a good way now, she smiled. 6 months ago, I was worried the alliance would collapse. Now I worry we are not growing fast enough. It was true. Horizon Station had exceeded all expectations. The joint research had already produced 3 major medical breakthroughs. Human adaptive techniques combined with Valthene crystalline technology had created treatments for species across the galaxy. Diseases that were once fatal could now be cured. Injuries that meant permanent disability could be healed. But more than the medical advances, the cultural exchange had proven invaluable. Humans learned patience and long-term planning from the Valthene. The Valthene learned flexibility and quick adaptation from humans. Both species gained respect for approaches different from their own. Subin, one of the human Valthene liaison officers, appeared with a concerned expression. Directors, we have a situation in the medical bay. One of the Korthan visitors collapsed. Dr. Yuna is treating him, but she needs help. Dae-jung and Princess Zira rushed to the medical bay. Dr. Yuna stood over a tall, insect-like alien whose breathing was labored and whose body temperature was dropping rapidly. Dr. Minho was running scans while 2 Valthene medical staff prepared equipment. What happened? Dae-jung asked. Allergic reaction to something in the station atmosphere, Yuna explained quickly. His species needs higher nitrogen levels. Our standard mix is too oxygen-rich for prolonged exposure. The environmental controls should have adjusted automatically, Zira said. They malfunctioned in this sector. We are fixing it, but he needs immediate treatment. Yuna looked at the Korthan, whose breathing was getting worse. The problem is I've never treated this species before. The medical database has basic information, but nothing about severe allergic reactions. Try antihistamines, Dae-jung suggested. Already did. No effect, their biochemistry is too different. She looked frustrated and scared. I'm running out of options. One of the Valthene medics stepped forward. I have studied Korthan biology. Their respiratory crisis requires pressure chamber treatment and specialized chemical inhalers. But I do not have the equipment here. Can we make it? Minho asked. Improvise something? Perhaps, if we combine human pressure therapy with Valthene crystal resonance techniques. The Valthene medic looked uncertain. But I have never tried such a combination. It could help or it could make things worse. Dae-jung recognized that look. It was the same look he had when he first tried to treat Princess Zira. The fear of making a mistake, of causing harm while trying to help. What do you need? He asked. The next 20 minutes were intense. The Valthene medic explained the theory while Yuna and Minho adapted human equipment. They created a makeshift pressure chamber using medical containment fields. They modified a Valthene crystal resonator to produce the specific frequencies needed to stabilize Korthan breathing patterns. They combined 3 different species' medical knowledge into one desperate attempt to save a life. It worked. The Corthan's breathing stabilized. His body temperature returned to normal. After half an hour, he was conscious and grateful, speaking in clicks and whistles that the station's translator converted to standard council language. "Thank you," he said. "You saved me. I thought I would die here." "You're welcome," Una said, looking exhausted but happy. "Just rest now. We'll keep monitoring you." After the Corthan was settled and recovering, the medical team gathered in a side room. The Valthene medic, whose name was Instructor Yara, looked amazed. "We did it. We combined techniques that should not work together, and we saved him." "That's what this station is about," Daejung said. "Finding new solutions by bringing different knowledge together." "I was afraid," Yara admitted. "Afraid to try something untested, something without precedent. But you humans, you try anyway. You do not let fear stop you from acting." "We're afraid too," Una said. "We're just more afraid of not trying." Later that day, the council representatives arrived for their inspection. They toured the facilities, reviewed the research data, and interviewed staff members. The delegation included species from across the galaxy, each curious about what humans and Valthene had built together. In the final meeting, the head representative, an elderly being from a species called the Tessian, addressed everyone gathered. "We have seen remarkable progress here. Medical advances, cultural exchange, successful cooperation between species that are very different from each other. Horizon Station has exceeded all goals set for it." "Thank you," Princess Zira said formally. "We are honored by your recognition. But we are not here just to praise your success," the Tessian continued. "We are here to discuss the future. Because what you have built here is more important than one research station. It is a model for how the entire council could operate." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Daejung glanced at Zira, who looked equally surprised. "What do you mean?" she asked. "The council has operated the same way for thousands of years. Each species maintains their own territory, their own culture, their own way of doing things. We meet, we trade, we make treaties, but we remain separate. This has kept peace, but also kept us from growing." The Tessian gestured around the station. "Here, you are not separate. You share space, share knowledge, share challenges. You are building something new. Are you suggesting more joint stations?" Daejung asked. "More than that. We are suggesting a new structure for the council itself, not replacing the old ways entirely, but supplementing them. Joint research initiatives like this one, shared educational programs, mixed security forces, combined exploration missions, taking the Horizon model and expanding it across the galaxy." "That would be a massive change," Taman said carefully. "Many species would resist." "Many resisted the human alliance," the Tessian replied. "Many said Earth was too young, too dangerous. But look what you have accomplished together. Sometimes change is necessary for survival." The Tessian pulled up a holographic display showing star maps with marked locations. "We face challenges now that no single species can handle alone. There are regions of space becoming unstable. Unknown threats emerging from beyond Council territory. Climate changes affecting multiple worlds. We need the adaptability humans bring, the stability Valthene bring, and the cooperation this station represents." Daejung felt the weight of those words. This was bigger than he had imagined. What started as a simple cultural exchange had become something that could reshape the entire galaxy. "We need time to discuss this," Princess Zira said. "To consult with our government's plan properly." "Of course. Take the time you need. But know that the Council is watching Horizon Station with great interest. You are showing us the future." The Tessian smiled, a strange expression on their alien features. "And the future looks hopeful." After the representatives left, Daejung found himself back on the observation deck. It had become his favorite place to think, to process everything that was happening. He stared at the stars and wondered what his students back on Earth would think if they could see him now. "You look overwhelmed," Princess Zira said, joining him as she always did. "I am overwhelmed. 6 months ago I was teaching basic biology. Now I'm co-directing a station that might change the entire galactic order. Does it feel good or bad?" "Both, mostly terrifying." He looked at her. "What about you? How do you feel about all this?" She was quiet for a moment. "When I was young, I used to stand in the palace and look at the stars. I would think about all the species out there, all the different ways of living and thinking, and I would feel so alone. The Valthene are powerful, but we talk only to ourselves. We perfected our way and stopped listening to others. And now I stand here and look at those same stars, but I'm not alone. I have human colleagues who challenge my assumptions.